بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the third session of this Seerah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his biography. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Sayyidina Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, wa sharafa wa qarrama wa barak wa azam, wa sahabati wa tabi'in wa tabi'in bi ihsan ila yawm ad-din, wa alayna ma'hum fi kulli lamhatin wa nafasin adad ma wasallam Allah, amma ba'd. We had looked at the lineage of the Prophet ﷺ just to see how the seed came from Adam al-Islam all the way up until now to Abdullah and Aminah, the parents of the Prophet ﷺ. And thus today's episode is about their marriage and about that being the introduction to the Prophet ﷺ's birth. So Abdullah, the father of the Prophet ﷺ, he was one of the most handsome men amongst Quraysh. He was the youngest son of Abdul, the leader of the Quraysh, the grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ. He was the youngest and he was the most beloved. Aminah, she was the most best in lineage from amongst the Qurayshi women. Now, other Qurayshi women really coveted Abdullah. He was handsome, he had that light in his forehead, and whether they were married, whether through marriage or whether outside of marriage, they wanted him. But Abdullah refused them all, and for him it was only going to be that one, Aminah. Now, the Prophet ﷺ has made a statement, Ana ibn Zabihain, I am the son of two slaughters, as that first one being Ismail al-Islam, who was to be sacrificed but then was substituted for a ram. The second being his own father, his direct father, Abdullah. And this, the story goes, where Abdul Muttalib, he found the well of Zamzam after it was hidden over a period of time since Jurhum tribe, since Ismail al-Islam. Over that period of time, the well of Zamzam became covered again from the days when Ismail al-Islam had found it by kicking that rock, and that water's gushing forth, that's coming out forth, Jurhum tribe settling there, and he marrying into the Jurhum tribe, then the Arabs coming from that. So Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ, he had a dream. He knew the location of the well of Zamzam, and for this he was thankful to Allah, he was grateful to Allah. To become close to Allah, he said that if Allah gives me 10 sons, I will sacrifice the youngest of them, and that youngest was to be Abdullah. Now, he was the most beloved to Abdul Muttalib, his father, as he was the most beloved to the whole of the Quraysh. They loved Abdullah. And now they had to find a way out to get out of that situation they found themselves in. And for that, they went and approached Hakima, a wise woman amongst the Quraysh, and she said, well, what is the blood money amongst yourselves for if someone dies? It was to be known if someone was killed. It was to be 10 camels. So they said, okay, you draw lots. If it goes in favor of the camels, then if it goes in favor of the camels, increase the number of camels. So if Abdullah was to get the short straw, increase 10 camels every time. And this carried on, first time, second time, third time. It was always Abdullah who would get a short straw. It's carried on until the 10th time, so there was 100 camels until the short straw came to the camel. So it was 100 camels to be able to free Abdullah from this sacrifice that was going to be him. So thus Abdullah was saved, and the Prophet ﷺ said the statement that I am the son of two slaughters. Thus, now the marriage of Abdullah and Aminah was that there was nothing stopping that, and thus they were married, and she got pregnant. And who did she get pregnant with? With that mercy to the mankind, the Prophet ﷺ. 2 months into this pregnancy, Abdullah, like the other young men of the Quraysh, he had to go on a business trip. and that was to Sham, which is modern day Syria, Palestine, Jordan, and he had to go on this business trip. Along the way he became ill, and thus he had to, from Makkah where he left, he had to uh, go to Medina and visit his relatives from the Banu Najjar, as his grandmother was a Najjariya. She was from that tribe. So he settled there with his relatives, but he never recovered from that illness, and thus he's buried in Medina, the father of the Prophet ﷺ. But Aminah, she was pregnant, and from that 2 months carried on until the 9th month. Unlike other pregnancies where the woman in the first month of pregnancy she's light, she gets heavier. We see that in the 3rd month you can see the signs of pregnancy, generally speaking, and it goes on towards the 9th month. As it gets more heavier and heavier. This pregnancy was different, and why was it not to be when it was the Prophet ﷺ who was inside the womb of his mother? So it just started. She felt light at the beginning, she got lighter, and she became the lightest right at the end. As she said that she never felt tired and fatigued throughout the pregnancy. This was to be for her the mother of the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ was to be born, and it was on, according to the majority of opinions, is the 12th of Rabiul Awwal, in the month of April, the month of Rabiul Awwal, in the year of the elephant, in the year that Abraha from Yemen came to try and destroy the Kaaba, as we have Surah Al-Fil revealed due to that. And it was Abdul Muttalib who was the leader of the Makkah, and thus their conversation goes, which we'll see more in detail in the next episode, for good reasons. Now, there are opinions, it was the 8th and the 9th of Rabiul Awwal, the Prophet ﷺ was born on a Monday, but the majority of opinions is the 12th, and thus we'll end it there. 12th of Rabiul Awwal, as is generally agreed across the Muslim Ummah. So we have April as well, Rabiul Awwal, April as well, that Gregorian times, it was the month of the Prophet ﷺ being born, 571. But 60 days, 2 months after that incident of the Surah Al-Fil, of the elephants and the elephant army coming to destroy the Kaaba. So 2 months after that, that's when the Prophet ﷺ was born. Now, the place where the Prophet ﷺ was born was in the house of Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, Abdullah had many brothers, as I've mentioned that Abdul Muttalib had 10 sons, and from that 10 sons, Abdullah was the youngest, but he had, from the 9 brothers, only one who had the same mother, and that was Abu Talib. So Abu Talib and Abdullah had the same mother and had the same father, being Abdul Muttalib. As for the rest, like Abu Lahab, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ, Hamza, anhu, as well as Abbas and the rest, they were all from other mothers, as Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of the Prophet ﷺ, had many wives. The midwife who delivered the Prophet ﷺ was Shafa, who was the mother of Abdul Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu, and he was one of the Ashra Mubashara, the 10, from one of the 10 who was granted the news that he was going to be from the people of Jannah whilst he was alive. And the truth is, a lot of Sahaba actually were more or less given good news that they were going to be from the people of Jannah. Why would they not be? When they believed in Islam, they were Muslims, and they saw the Prophet and they got that status of Sahaba. Now, that was where the Prophet was born, in the house of Abu Talib, and we've seen that the pregnancy was one of the most easiest and best, and the Prophet was born on that Monday, as mentioned, and he was born circumcised. He was born without the umbilical cord attached to him as well, so he was born without cut, and he was born being circumcised as well already. But there is an opinion that said that the grandfather Abdul Muttalib, he circumcised the Prophet ﷺ on the 7th day, as is the Sunnah Ibrahimiyya, the Abrahamic tradition. as Ibrahim alayhi salam is the first person who was circumcised, and this at the age of 80 he circumcised himself. So this became thus a tradition, and that we Muslims, as well as amongst the Jews, they have that we have circumcision upon the seventh day. This is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, being all the way from the sunnah of Ibrahim alayhi salam. And thus the Prophet ﷺ has come into this world. The whole world rejoiced, and he was named Muhammad, as Abdul Muttalib, his grandfather, and Aminah, his mother, they both had dreams. And then when they spoke to each other, they mentioned that dreams to each other, and they said, yes, I had the same dream, and that the Muhammad was going to be the name. Now, was Muhammad ﷺ the first name to be amongst the Arabs? No, there were about 3 or 4 around already. And why not? When these Arabs lived amongst the Jews, lived amongst the Christians, the Christians of Najran, for example, and they would relate that to the Arabs, that a prophet would come who would be close to the end of times, and his name would be Muhammad. So thus some took it upon themselves that they would name their children Muhammad in hope that their son would probably become Muhammad. But this was only given to Abdullah, this honor, and Aminah, as we have seen in this birth of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. أشهد سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.